Hey guys, welcome to the channel. As you see in the thumbnail, what if Naruto is summoned by Louise and Harem? Before I start, please do support for more awesome content, and subscribe my channel and like this video. Go support and follow the Sohara Mitsuki for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story. Link in the description. He has achieved victory. A man was standing at the top of a giant tree, a god tree. After taking many lives of his beloved, he finally be able to seal the remain of the god tree soul into himself. Meanwhile, the rest of its chakra turned himself into something that make himself wondered what is this form. After battling Madara, he was ready for the worst, fighting against the person who was once the first Rikudo Sannin Hagoromo Otsutsuki mother, Kage Otsutsuki. She was a very tough opponent, however he and Sasuke are able to defeat her. He then decided to seal the remaining power of the Jubi to himself, which his friends did not agree on. He is a young man in his early 20s with a remarkable sun-ed blonde. He has a blue eyes that calculating what is going on with him. He has 3 scars in each of his face that makes him look feral, if not look like a fox whiskers. He currently touched both of his ears that were pointy, that makes him wonder why he have those ears. His clothes were worse for wear, and his condition were to say at least looked like a beaten person with a bruises and bloody scar everywhere. His clothes were orange jacket with black outlines and also orange jonin pants. His jonin vest loosened with a bit tattered here and there. His haori were also ripped with holes. His Hokage haori that inclined nanodame behind it were almost non-existent. His name is Naruto Uzumaki. All of his friends knew that he once lost his precious lover, Hyuga Hinata, during the first attempt at defeating Madara's forces 3 years earlier at the beginning of the 4th Shinobi World War. Naruto and his forces swiftly able to overcome those difficulties. However, they thought that the Tsukuyomi no Mi, Eye of the Moon plan, will be executed right away, so they took the initiative and go straight towards Madara's main forces. Madara and Obito themselves suddenly ambush his forces, tried to take the Kyuubi from Naruto. It appears that the Shinobi Alliance plan has failed, and they were forced to retreat. Shikamaru proposed a plan for him to escape. In return, his friends will try to hold Obito and Madara while he is retreating. He obviously won't accept the idea and will never abandon his friends, and however Shikamaru forced him to obey. The forces with Naruto at that time were the whole rookies, including Sasuke, who suddenly helped Naruto fight against Madara and Obito. Naruto knew if he was caught here, there would be no chance for the Shinobi Alliance to retaliate, so he was forced to leave his friends behind. Hinata surprisingly volunteered to be Naruto's escort during the escape, and Naruto was really happy that he will be escorted by his girlfriend. During the escape, something horrible happened. They were attacked by Sandame Reikage and Nidame Tsuchikage. Hinata will never stand a chance against 2 former Kages. If he uses his cloak mode he could, however he need his chakra. If his chakra is exhausted, he will be good for grab by the enemies, while the reinforcement will come in 30 minutes, and they were in a pinch. During the fight, Naruto was fighting the former Tsuchikage while Hinata desperately trying to hold off the former Reikage, which is not good. She was struggling to hold off, but unfortunately the Reikage hit Hinata in the left chest right in her heart, and that knocked her out. When the reinforcement came, it was already too late. Hinata's heartbeat is gone and nothing he or Tsunade could do. He then mourned over his girlfriend for 2 days, however he keeps thinking and thinking, what does that do? Does doing nothing will solve this war? He regrets every moment he couldn't do anything, so he resolved on being the strongest. He then learns all the secrets of his father's arsenal and his mother's heritage, and his family the Uzumaki. Learning about the Biju, his ancestor Ashura, history from Rikudo Sannin of what is happening in this world full of chakra or ninshu. He didn't know why did he run back then? Why was he following order? Why was he so weak? If he just fight there and finish Madara and Obito, it would be different. It was not that easy. At that time he doesn't have any kinds of enlightenment from the Rikudo Sannin himself. He was only able to accomplish everything now where the whole world might be in peace. Peace? Will there be a true peace in a world with such power? He smiled. Maybe true peace is just something out of reach? He was tired, at loss with what will he be next? He was already a Hokage, but did that really his only purpose? He was wondering what will happen next. He looked downwards at the devastating ground that seemed it was taken by catastrophe or even worse. He took deep breaths. He needs some relax after this. However, he felt a strong summoning jutsu from his back and looked up from his shoulder that there is a green circle full of strange power. It is not chakra, but it is a great power from the looks of it. He turned back and thought for a while. If this is a summoning jutsu, then someone needs my help. He looked around him as single tears fell. It seems this will be the last time I'll be here. I'm going to miss this place. He then walked towards the green circle and right there, and then the circle vanished alongside Naruto. The remaining of shinobi looked upwards towards the top of the god tree and surprised that their hero were vanished. From then on, many people still mourning Naruto for almost a year, and he labeled as a hero who they worship as the Nidaime Rikudo Sennin. Inside the void, he falls deep in the darkness, nowhere to go, only his will to live keep him from being insane. He decides to follow the green circle to the new world, but will he be able to find true happiness and peace there? His eyes opened only to be stared by a beautiful woman with white wings and a very beautiful faces. She have a rounded faces, with a kind and gentle gold eyes and white straight hair. She wears a white majestic robe befitting of a royalty. The most peculiar things he saw was a halo right above her head. He finally speaks. Who are you? The glowingly beautiful woman smiled warmly at him. Me? I'm a goddess, or you may call me Kami-sama. He weakly asked. Kami-sama? She nodded. Yes, Naruto-kun, I'm Kami-sama. He sighed. So Kami-sama have comes personally to meet him, and take my souls to hell, huh? She tilted her head. Why hell? Because of the fact that I was able to kill Madara was to do cheap tricks, killing his subordinate, and finally almost destroying humanity in the process? He explained. She smiled widely then laughed. Ha ha ha, Naruto-kun, as I thought you are so interesting. You are really kind that you think killing the evil side is bad. Naruto-kun, even if I were to take you, it will not be to hell but heaven, and since you already taken the Jubi soul now you are practically a godlike, some sorts of things like that. But no, I didn't call you to the green circle. I wanted for you to help this little girl with almost the same destiny as you. I hope you are willing to help her, Naruto-kun, as this is your chance to redeem and protect those who are precious to you in this new world, and you will have to find out what world are you falling into by yourself. Her smile still in her face, then her hands reach out to his cheeks, and stroking it gently. He just smiled while her cheeks had a tint of red. Then, if you are a Kami-sama, can you tell me what is happening to elemental nations? Her eyes grow soft, and said, Elemental nations is fine, Naruto-kun, they are developing into a technological nations and decide to become one nations under one rule. However, you know how humans can be, they are greedy, and insatiable, we never know when the war will breaks out again. She won't said to him that there will be no conflict at all in the elemental nations, however for the greater good she will not tell him the fully detail that how the elemental nations right now. He smiled. Kami-sama arigato, for everything you gave me, I will protect her in this new world with all my power, and Kami-sama, I have one more request. She then holds both his hands. What is it? Please protect everyone who precious to me there, my friends. He looked at her with pleading eyes. And I will, Naruto-kun. Then he disappear into the void, to his new master, however he can't hear what Kami-sama last words. I will help your friends, Naruto-kun, but not directly as you think. Hawkagenia, Tri-Stain Magic Academy. Young girl at the age of 17 were waiting for her turn to summon her familiar, as today were the summoning day. She is really nervous as her friends called her the Zero. She thought that she would never summon her familiar a long life accompany. Her name is Louise Françoise Leblanc de la Valliere. Last night before she was awake, she saw a mysterious figure and a blonde-haired elf. He was really kind to her, and he promised to her that he will protect her. He was really handsome, but she couldn't see his face clearly, and then her dream ended when she tried to him in that dream but then falling from her bed. Today is the summoning ritual for her, and she was teased by her rival again into making a bet with her Germanian rival Kirchi Augusta Frederica von Anhalt-Zerbst, that she would summon a great familiar, not some sort of poor summon. She really regretted those words right now, as now she is really nervous, but her pride as a noble were strong, masking her nervousness. After it's almost her turn, she tried to lay down by hiding at the taller student to hide her. Unfortunately, luck was not on her side. Is there someone who hasn't performed the summoning? Jean Colbert Professor is the one who oversees the student performing the ritual. He is one of the square class fire mage, and considered a man who filled himself with curiosity. Oh, there is one Louise who hasn't done the ritual, Professor. Kirchi with a mischievous smile looked at Louise, who was now glared at Kirchi and annoyed her to no end. Colbert, who nodded, stares at Louise. Very well, Miss Valliere, please perform the ritual. He pointed his staff at the magic circle for summoning. Louise gulped at it is her turn and walked towards the circle and took a deep breath while she raised her wand to the air. My name is Louise Françoise Leblanc de la Valliere, Pentagon of the 5 elemental powers. My servant that exists somewhere in this universe. My divine, beautiful, and powerful familiar. I wish and assert from the bottom of my heart, answer my guidance. Suddenly an explosion of smoke erupted, covering everyone's sight. She is getting more nervous if her spell is failed, and it proven wrong, as there is someone who was standing at the circle. The man wearing a strange green vest with many pockets in it. Underneath he wore orange jacket with black lines and orange pants. Covering all of this was some sort of overcoat which there is no zip, revealing most of his underneath clothes. He had a round-shaped face with a 3-scar line that looks like a whiskers. He had a pair of blue sky eyes that filled with almost nothingness. His hair were a spiky sun-ed blonde with a 2-horn-like hair in front standing proudly. Louise blushed at the sight of this tall man, and he is about 6.0 foot with a godlike body, making her thought, who is this person she summoned, that she thought he just summoned God on earth. Despite all of this, there is a sight that caused her eyes widened. He had long pointy ears. She seems to recognize him. She was seeing him in her dream last night. However, her eyes widened. She just summoned the most dangerous creature, the enemy of human who exists at the Forbidden Land. An elf. Shock that is something filled the vestry court. All of students, none of them believed what just happened. Louise Valliere just summoned a creature with human bodies and long pointed ears. An elf. He just stood there emotionless. No words, no movement, and his eyes looked like his world just come to an end. Empty and sadness. Louise stood there, her mouth gaping like a fish would. She just couldn't believe what she just summoned. Elf who stands in front of them is tall, towering all of them. He stood at 6 feet 2 inches tall. He had a round-shaped face and 3 faint whiskers mark on each cheek, a strange mark for elf. His bang covered each of his side face, and his hair is wild spiky blonde. His eyes were blue endless ocean color. His body is well toned without overly bulked, with a 6-pack abs, something all girls blushed at since his clothes tattered. He wore a headband at his arm with a strange letter inscribed at the middle. He wore orange black shirt and orange pants. He also wore a strange dark green vest with many pockets. In his upper left thigh there attached a strange holster. It was strange since there is no pistol in it. His coat, which was thin white and blood painted, reached until his lower leg. Behind inscribed the same strange letter, which the same as the headband but in the same time different meaning. He seems to observe as where he is now. After a good minute of silence, he sees Louise still gaping and moved towards her. He asks her in a strange language. Naruto's mind is racing right now. Where is he? Is this a new world? Interesting. The scenery and the air is really fresh with nature magic. He could change into sage mode in a second. This environment makes him alive again. While it is good being summoned here for a reason, he need to find information, and it seems his summoner might know. Where am I? Are you the one who summoned me? Hello, anybody home? The elf asked in a very strange language while waving his hand in front of Louise, made every people there look confused. She pointed at the elf and started asking, Hey, are you my familiar? She asked while still doesn't grasp what he just asked. He tilted his head and makes a confused expression. The girls wanted to glomp him for his cuteness but still scared nonetheless. The elf closed his eyes and reached for Louise's head. But before he could reach her, the professor or their teacher held his hand before reaching Louise with his staff. Even though sweat rolling down his head, he's still eager to protect his student. Naruto decides he will take the man's knowledge. He grabs the staff and pulls it strong enough to pull the man towards him. The teacher tried to avoid him, but Naruto is faster than human speed. He grabbed his head and start to absorb the knowledge this world has, without killing him. His eyes snapped open and narrowed his eyes. He quickly put down the teacher and pondered. This world screwed. Noble and commoner system, a system where the nobles as a high rank are considered as people who can use magic, and this world leaves the commoner as a low life, and many noble consider them as a nothing more than a slave. Naruto shook his head lightly. He looks over the scared student and sighs. The other races of this world called out from the other sides of this country. Currently there are 5 superior countries. Tristane, the country where I am summoned, Germania to the east of this country, Albion to the west of this country currently fighting a civil war, Gallia to the south of this country. No more information strange. The last is Ramalia, or the church where the true religion of this world and the founder of Brimir. Whoever this man was, he was a total jerk. Naruto sighed once again and looked over to pink little girl who's still gaping. This world-last race who doesn't believe in Bremer is the elves. They lived far to the east. Their country is a forbidden land if what this man knowledge is true. Formerly the founder of void magic labels the forbidden land of elves. In this world history it said that Bremer tried to take the land of the elves but failed. Naruto walked towards her and looked at her pink eyes. He finally spoke for the first time since he came to this world. "Are you the one who summoned me?" asked Naruto with a deep masculine tone which made the girl's heart melt. Unable to utter words, she just nodded. Naruto, surprised by her chakra reserves and a strange void energy coming from her. He really sure the void energy is really rare and coming strong from her is the fact. She can summon him, she have potential. The professor, who finally regained his sense, looks at Louise with pride. She might not able to use magic properly, but she can summon powerful being. He approached both of them as he cleared his throat. "Miss Valier, it seems you have successfully summoned your familiar, now finish the contract," the professor simply stated. Louise, who just nodded, chanted the spell. Meanwhile Naruto frowned. "Familiar? Contract, what does that mean?" He recalled Professor Memories. Familiar is a being who's summoned by a certain noble to be a long-life partner. If he doesn't treated like a dog, he would be fine. "My name is Louise Françoise Leblanc de la Valliere. Pentagon that rules the 5 powers, blesses this individual, and makes him my familiar." She moves closer to him, while she starts to lean up to reach his lips. Naruto saw this and leaned down to reach her. Both of their lips finally link together, as a symbol of familiar appears at his hand. Naruto frowned and started to feel the pain, but not much. Louise was happy. She finally summoned a powerful being as her familiar, just as she was about to break the. She felt both of her arms immobilized and the elf in front of her start pushing his tongue inside her. She doesn't know what is going on. She tries to break it and move, but her body loses its strength and begins to limp. She felt like she was in heaven. Her body is getting hotter from the. She never felt something like this before. It feels good. His tongue dominated her entire mouth, and Louise just gives in to the. The other students who watched this astounded, both of them ing like there was no tomorrow, and this made them blush hard. Just as Louise want more. He broke the, and a trail of saliva could be seen from both of his and Louise's tongue. Her face blushed even more after what just he does. She tried to scream and berated him, but her voice is being held behind her tongue. She can't say anything to berated him like dogs or saying he was his familiar, so he must obey him. She just can't. The students just stared in shock. Louise the Zero summoned an elf? And that's not all. She just pulled out a stunt that made them terrified. Did Louise just summon an elf? One of students started to murmur. I think she did, and look at that, she just pulled out a fierce contract. The girls chorused together. Kaya, he is so handsome. The guys all sweat dropped. Now he just takes all the girls away. Kerchi, who stand near tree, just licked her sudden dry lips, and Tabitha closed her books to get clear look at the elf, and she just utter a single words. Interesting. Louise's room evening. After the summoning, Naruto and Louise went towards her room with Naruto carrying her bridal style. She couldn't utter a word. Reaching the room, Louise quickly changed while Naruto waited outside. After she changed, he went inside and found Louise in her pajamas. Both of them sit in an awkward silence. After a moment, Louise started to break the silence. So, what is your name? Louise asked. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. What about you? He asked, even though he already her name. It doesn't hurt to ask. She straightens up her chest with a little huff. My name is Louise Françoise Leblanc de la Valliere, third daughter of Valliere family. I see, well, that is great name, Louise, he stated gently. Louise blushed at his masculine voice and just nodded. By the way, where must I sleep? Naruto asked, incurious. The only thing in her room was a pile of hay, and it's sure for animal. Ah, don't worry, you can sleep with me, since I thought I would have animal familiar, so I only brought this hay. Sorry. Louise started to lay in her bed, giving space for him to sleep. Don't worry about it, Louise, it's fine. He finally gave in and lay beside her. Louise just remembered about something. He could speak the same language. While it seems the first time she summoned him, he's still clueless. He also uses a strange magic than the other. Is it nature magic? Louise decides to ask him. And about the first time I summoned you, why are you speaking gibberish, and what have you done to Mr. Colbert? Louise turned to face him. Naruto have a sheepish expression. That is just one of my abilities anyway, you better get to sleep. I'll protect you from any harm, little Louise. He smiled mischievously. Louise blushed and turned around, avoiding his smile. Baka! That is what your job is. He chuckles and gets to sleep even if he sleep temporary. Osmond office. In the office, dozen of teachers discussing about the elf Louise just summoned. Colbert also almost loses consciousness. Somehow he managed to finish the annual familiar summoning this year. And the most part was the elf himself was just getting out of the war zone, something they took cautiously. They still debating whether or not told the kingdom about the elf, because if they did, the kingdom will try to kill the elf. Elf is really dangerous, even if there is only one. One could take thousands of nobles. Old Osmond, the principal of Tri-Stain Magic Academy, confused by the sudden occurrence. He really don't know elf that much. But from just said, he seemed to be nice. Right now a rather loud argument comes from each teacher. We should just give him towards the palace. This will give us good deeds and the founder Bremir will bless us. One teacher stated. Colbert retort. We can't. As you can see, he is already a familiar of Miss Louise. We cannot just give him towards the palace. You should ask Miss Valier first, and I don't think the elves won't give up without a fight. Osmond cleared his throat, make everyone in the room look at him. I suppose Mr. Colbert is right. Even if we give the elf towards the palace, nothing good will come, and he is already a familiar of Miss Louise, meaning she has full control of her familiar. One teacher stood. But old Osmond, we can't risk it. How will he react to it? He might just kill her. You know how elves hate our races for many years. The teachers start to agree, however, before Osmond slammed the table. It is rare to see Osmond angry. We can't judge a person by its cover. We shall see. If he behaves strangely and hostile, we will give him towards the palace, but if he do nothing and be a good person, he will not go to the palace. You understand me? Old Osmond gave them a stern glare and all of them nodded. Good, now everyone dismiss except for Mr. Colbert and Miss Longueville. Osmond stated, and every teacher inside the room start to leave the room except Colbert and Longueville, secretary of Osmond. Both of you, I need something for you two to do. Folding his hand and giving his best serious expression. Both of them nodded. Miss Longueville, I want you to overlook the elf, if he is a potential threat, and Mr. Colbert, I want you to solve the mystery about that sign. Both nodded. Longueville have a mind of her own. What kind of sign? All right, both of you dismissed. Both of them leave the office, leaving Osmond with his familiar mouse Matsogner. I am too old for this, but it is nice to see new people once in a while. He puffed his smoke. Shortly after Louise just slept, he woke up to look after her clothes, which he noticed when he entered the room. She is a spoiled girl who pried too much of herself. He however noticed earlier when everyone called her Louise the Zero until he came and emit his ki. He walked out of the bed and took of the pile of clothes. He needs to explore the place and find out what kind of world is this. He put on the seal to his clothes, which consist of his jounin flak jacket. Underneath there is his black-orange suit alongside with umbu pants. Quickly his seal get to work as his clothes return back to its original state and fix it. His former tattered clothes fixed up in a matter of minutes. He went out with his master clothes, though he prefer comrades. He never one to respect someone except they deserve it, and Naruto saw many sadness in her. While Naruto is walking through the corridor, he gazed at a rich blonde brat with his rose at his left hand, meanwhile in his right stay at a brunette girl's shoulder. Judging by her appearance and outfit, she is a first-class student, and her face is quite cute. Though the blonde were obviously a womanizer, he just shook his head. He just ignored the blonde and walked past through them. However, as they just passed each other, the blonde looking at him and stopped him. Hey! You there! Are you the one who Louise summoned? The blonde asked arrogantly. Naruto just have looking impassive while holding the basket. He stares at the blonde and smile even though it was fake Ned. He knew the blonde in front of him is the one who always mock Louise. Why, yes, I am. Is there any problem? Naruto asked back. Of course it is. Until now I still didn't believe a failure such as Louise could summon an elf such as you. The blonde narrowed his eyes. I see, jealousy. Naruto calmly stated. The blonde snorted. Humph, there is no way I could be jealous of her. Because I am Goichi de Greymont and people call me the Bronze Goichi. It might just a coincidence, she might call an elf from out of nowhere. The blonde who just called himself Goichi stated. Very well then, if you say so, I shall bid you farewell. I still need to do more things. Naruto turned back as he continued his walk. Just so you know, elf, you are not welcomed here. You might be familiar of Louise the Zero, however no one will acknowledge such foul creature among us human. Let's go, my beautiful Katie. He gestured towards the brunette in his hand. Naruto took a deep breath and kept walking. He still couldn't believe there is such world as trash as this. After he walked outside, he found out it was already night, and surprisingly there are 2 moons. He just chuckled dryly. 2 moons, 2 different entities. He kept walking till he found out a fountain, however before he could start washing he stopped by someone call. A smooth, kind tone. Ah no, kind sir, what are you doing in the middle of the night? The sound asked him in a kind tone. He turned back and see who it is. He saw a maid who looks about 18. Her hair is deep onyx, and her eyes are faint light blue. She held both of her arms in front of her and made her look polite. Naruto smiled. He stood up and looks at her. I am just trying to wash up my master clothes. If you don't mind, can I ask if you could wash it up for me? He looked at her again. Her face were a mix of kindness and afraid. However, she nodded. Of course, kind sir. I am the one who always do the job. She took the basket from Naruto and started to wash the clothes. Naruto smiled, which made her blush. Thank you. You're welcome, kind sir. While the girl washed up Lee's clothes, Naruto leaned at the wall nearby the fountain. While the maid was washing, she knows the silences between them are uncomfortable. Naruto decided to break the silence between them. You didn't hate me, did you? Naruto asked. The maid became flabbergasted. No, kind sir, what makes you think of that? Naruto looked up at the sky. Because when you look at me at first, it is just as you saw something horrible. Do you hate me for what I am? Naruto asked with his gaze still at the beautiful 2 moons. In my childhood, my parents often told me a fairy tale. They told me how horrible the elves. They hate humans and it is the same as we hate them. However, I didn't think like that. There must some kind of reason they hate us. The maid reasoned. Naruto becomes silenced. Deep inside he's astonished. If there are more people who could think like her. I see. That is why when I first look at you, sir, I'm scared. However, when I saw that smile of yours, I know that you are a kind person, not like what people describe. The maid flustered at what she just said and looks away. That is reasonable. I think I forgot to say my name is. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. It is nice to meet you. Naruto introduced himself while still leaning against the wall. Me too, my name is Siesta. It is nice to meet you, Naruto-san. She looked at him with a faint blush. Naruto just nodded and the maid called Siesta continued her washing. The silence continued until Siesta finished her washing. Even though the whole situation is silence, its silence are one of the comfortable, and Naruto is glad to meet someone who isn't a prick. After Siesta finished washing, Naruto thanked her. Once again, thank you, Siesta. He gave her a charmed smile which unconsciously makes Siesta blush. Yes, no problem, Naruto-san. Siesta tried to look away from his face and tried to look anywhere to hide her blushing face but failed miserably. I'll see you tomorrow. He turns around and walks away back to Louise's room, leaving the blushing maid pondering to herself with suggestive images. Morning. Louise's room. Louise sleeps very deeply till Naruto wake her. She mumbled Munya sounded like a cat. It made Naruto chuckle at the sight of a prideful girl who acts like that. Till tomorrow, of course. Naruto started to shake her more. Louise, wake up, you need to go to class, remember? Munya, 5 more minutes, that was his answer. Naruto smirked and gave her a playful slap on her ass which made her scream and awake. Ouch. Who did that? She gave out her angry glare, however after she saw that she flustered. It is me who did that, Louise. Now get up, you have a class to attend. Naruto stated like a wise sage. Louise tried to rub her eyes and actually didn't believe her eyes. Oh yeah, yesterday she just summoned an elf. It is not a dream. Naruto nodded. Of course not, now go get changed, I'll wait outside. He starts to walk out of the room, leaving Louise with her mind still restarting. After Louise finished wearing her uniform, they met Kirchi and Tabitha. Tabitha seemed an okay person and a quiet type. Meanwhile, Kirchi is hot and seemed to annoy Louise. However, Louise seems already aware of her presence rival. What are you doing here, Kirchi? she asked harshly. Oh, nothing of course, but it seemed you did good job at summoning an elf and why won't that become your familiar? Her rather huge boobs jiggling and start to lean towards Naruto. She starts to put her index finger at his firm chest and start to twirl it. Elf-kun, if you stop being her familiar and become mine, I'll gladly become yours. Kirchi's eyes start to glitter at the sight of the wide blonde. Louise of course starts to fume in anger. Kirchi, get your hands off my familiar. Naruto however start to wave Kirchi hands off. I'm sorry, I can't, I only serve Louise and become her partner. This of course set a different reaction. Louise become flustered and Kirchi become more determined to get him, and Tabitha being Tabitha. Louise drags Naruto and start walking faster. Where are we going, Louise? Naruto asked while still being dragged. Towards Alvis Hall, we gonna have breakfast there. Louise answered and Naruto just nodded. A few breakfasts couldn't have bad. Alvis Hall. Here at Alvis Hall many students already sit on their respective seat and begin their breakfast. Naruto pull out a chair for Louise to sit and Louise of course accepts it. Naruto could feel several glares from students, however instead of directing towards him, it is towards Louise. Louise for her part just ignores them. It was just usual except with her familiar being an elf and all. She knew she just accomplished something after she summoned Naruto, and for some reason her heartbeat couldn't stop when she near him. Naruto could also hear some chat, mostly from girls. Is Louise really summoning an elf? It seems like it. I would never imagine how Louise summons the elf. And he is a handsome one at that. Yeah, he is really my ideal of men. I wonder if he already has someone. Louise twitched at the last part but ignored it. She never get annoyed this fast, but still she know her familiar are devilish handsome. While many of the girls started to think of the hot hunk, the person on higher status think the elf be executed and killed for taking the lands of their founder Brimir. Naruto could read all of their faces like a book, and it annoyed him. He might not show it outside, but inside he felt like to punch this entire brat into a mess. He calms himself and whispered towards Louise. Louise, I will get outside with the other familiar, is that okay with you? Naruto asked gently. Louise scared, is her familiar didn't like being here. Is she being a bad master? Why? Is it because of the food served here, or did I do something wrong? Naruto smiled. Despite she being a prideful girl, she's still an innocent girl, but she covered it by her prideful attitude. Don't worry, I will eat at the staff room where the kitchen is. I am not going anywhere, Louise. Okay? Naruto reassured her, and she nodded. Very well. Louise just lumped in her seat, but one look carefully she actually breath of relief. Just as Naruto went outside, Louise is approached by Kirchi, her sworn enemies. She seems infatuated by her familiar who could be shown as her passion or love, which is why Louise hates her. One thing she detests more is Kirchi is better than her. Better appearance, famous, and her huge S. Louise never know why did she never grow up like that. Her older sister Katla have big S, but her other big sister didn't. Maybe it was her genes which the same as Eleanor? She just shook her head and Kirchi just looked at her amusingly. Era, Louise, where is your handsome familiar? Is he getting sick sticking around you? Kirchi asked slyly. Louise just rolled her eyes. No, Kirchi, he just went outside to find some food near the kitchen since this place doesn't serve food for him. She tried not to call him familiar, it's just wrong. Nonsense, if it were me I would give him such wonderful feast rather than take your own pride inside the table. Humph, just keep blabbering and I don't really listen anyway. Louise looks away, avoiding Kirchi's victorious smile. Fufufu. Well, see you around, Louise the Zero. Let's go, Tabitha. Kirchi walked away as her blue-haired petite friend followed her. Outside of Alvis Hall. Naruto went outside to find food where the staffs are staying, and that is where the food made from. He spots Siesta, which she hold trolley of food back towards the kitchen. He decides to greet her. Siesta. Naruto waved at her, which she noticed. Ah, Naruto-san. She approaches him with a big smile on her face. How are you today, Siesta? I hope you have good sleep. Naruto put his hand at his pocket pants. Ah, yes, of course, Naruto-san. By the way, aren't you supposed to be with Louise-san? Naruto nodded. Yes, however it seems they serve noble only there, so I decide to find the kitchen, if you don't mind. Where is it? Siesta gasped. Of course the academy won't serve food to him, especially of who he is. You could follow me to the kitchen after breakfast at Alvis Hall is finished. she offered. Naruto smiled. Of course, that would be delightful. I'll help you brought these. Siesta seems to protest. Don't worry, Naruto-san, I can do it myself. Don't worry about it. Naruto just waved it off. Also, I don't like formalities, just call me Naruto. Siesta seems attracted to his kind personality and blushed slightly. Yes, Naruto. After giving all of the breakfast towards the student noble, Naruto and Siesta went towards the kitchen where Naruto ate hungrily, the staff and the head chef Marto only looking from afar. He didn't really trust this elf which befriends Siesta. But if Siesta that happy, then he will let it go for now. After Louise finished eating her breakfast, she went outside to enjoy her tea, although she really wants with her familiar. Right now she just enjoyed sitting and relax. However, since her familiar is very unique, or some term should say, many start their conversation on Louise's familiar, like they don't really believe she summoned an elf. However, those rumors, glare, especially girls, stopped and the girls started to stare at the handsome blonde elf with the half-lidded eyes and gaze full of lust. Louise didn't like it at all, even when the girls her age or her senior or junior staring at her familiar likes they own him. She is the only one who only should see. She shook her head off at the thoughts while Naruto basically sit on the other side of the table. He seems to radiate that cool and gentle smile even she could not resist. So Louise, how's your breakfast? Naruto asked with her smile. Louise looked away to hide her blush but failed. My morning just got ruined by a certain someone. Naruto gave her a hurt expression even though it was false. He could do it well because he is a shinobi. Oh Louise, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to leave you. I am truly sorry. Louise waved her hands erratically. No. It wasn't you. It's just Kirchi who disturbed me, that's all. Naruto inwardly laughing. Her expression is so cute. Well, if that's the case then it's fine anyway. Aren't you supposed to be at class right now? Louise regained her composure. Oh, don't worry about it, for the next 2 hours there is no class, so let's enjoy ourselves for a certain time. Of course, Louise. Naruto gave her a smile. In the distance An could see Siesta frowning in jealousy at Naruto and Louise's closeness. Siesta knows Louise isn't that attractive, but why is Naruto being so gentle towards him? She is going to need a plan to seduce Naruto with her body the next time they meet. After 2 hours of waiting outside enjoying peace, Naruto and Louise went to the class. Even though it's forbidden bringing familiar, it's truly up towards its master, and since Naruto is an elf, not another strange familiar, Louise would let him in. He also promised not to do something flashy and all. In the middle of the way, they meet Kirchi and Tabitha. Again. Louise, so you decide to bring him to the class after all. But you should know it's forbidden, right? You are going punished if you doing that. Kirchi stated while looking at Naruto every now and then. Tabitha just interesting in her book, but one could see she is interested at Naruto for being an elf. Don't worry about it, Kirchi. I already have permission. And everyone seemed don't mind about him. So get out of our way. Louise snarled. Kirchi gave her a mock hurt. Oh Louise, it's hurt, and why did everyone didn't mind? It's because of me, of course. She stated proudly. Louise narrowed her eyes. And why is that? It's because your familiar is the handsome elf hunk and every female has talked about it. One day he will surrounded by girls and you won't be given a single meat. Kirchi crossed her arms, make her bust bigger. Naruto, however, began to pale at the mention surrounded by girls. It's the same as fangirls. There is no way it could happen. Louise crossed her arms as she glared at Kirchi. Oh, it will, and when it does I will have that large rod meat for myself. Kirchi stated without shame. Louise's face went red and Tabitha, who listened, becomes embarrassed by her friends, and Naruto just shook his head. Whatever, let's go Naruto. Louise pulled Naruto towards the class and her seat. Kirchi gave Naruto a seductive look. You will be mine. Class. In the class, teacher, which she called herself Mrs. Chevreuse, is lecturing about earth magic and everyday magic, and Naruto noticed Louise's nervousness. When the teacher gave the lecturing, mages divided by level the same as shinobi. The lowest are dot mage, then the next level is line mage, the most common and many noble would probably reach is triangle mage, and the last and the rarest is square mage. If Naruto rank it correctly, square level mage could control 4 magic elements. Naruto start to wonder what is Louise's element. He knows Louise have a high amount of reserve energy, or mana is what they called here. Naruto suspect that only Louise who have the many amount of mana, Meanwhile her friend not so, they only manipulate mana from their surroundings with their wands to work those magic. That one is also strange because she is special. The rumor is that Louise cannot do a single spell and considered the dead last. Naruto chuckled, what a strange coincidence. Mrs. Chevreuse herself is an earth triangle mage which she could manipulate 3 elements even if it's basic spell. She started to explain the lost magic, void magic. Although if he have to guess, Louise is a void mage since she couldn't cast any spell correctly, and always ended up in explosion. He felt glare at almost boy in the class, and of course Koichi give him a death glare which he ignored. All of them are looking at him only when the teacher didn't pay attention. Mrs. Chevreuse asked any of the students to give example how to manipulate earth elements after she done it first. Almost everyone in the class went silent, and she has to pick randomly. Very well then, since no one wants to get in front of the class, I will choose randomly, Mrs. Chevreuse said. While many get nervous, it gets directed towards Louise. Miss Valier, can you come in front of the class and show how to do it? Louise seems to gasp and glanced towards Naruto, who just nodded. Everyone however shook their head and Gucci finally stepped in. Mrs. Chevreuse, you can't let her do that, it will become disaster. Then why don't you come in front of the class? That shut him up even though he tried to protest. Please continue, Miss Valier. Louise became more nervous, however she took her breath. She took of her wand and aimed it towards the brass which Mrs. Chevreuse just did. Naruto knows something is wrong. Her chakra become unstable and her power become uncontrolled. Naruto know it could cause an explosion. Naruto closed his eyes for a second and opened it, revealing the eyes of the Jubi. Everyone in the class which already took cover shocked at the lack of explosion Louise will cause, because all of them even more shocked when Louise can cast a spell by turning the brass into gold. Oh Miss Valier, this is wonderful, you successfully turn a brass into a gold, only square mage could even do that, Mrs. Chevreuse proudly stated. Louise however gaping like a fish, she just couldn't believe it, she just cast a spell and it worked, not some explosion. She glanced at Naruto, which he nodded. Oh my god, Louise the Zero just cast a spell and not some explosion. Shout one of the students named Malicorn. Naruto's sweat dropped at the class reaction. So that's why she is called Zero. Night Louise's room. Louise couldn't believe it, she just cast a spell. She is so happy that she let out a deep breath. While she confused as to why Naruto kept her in the middle of the night. Is he going to? She blushed and shook her head. There is no way that could be true. The door of her room opened and revealed Naruto holding a book and sigh. Naruto, is something wrong? Louise asked. Naruto nodded. Yes, Louise, do you know why can you turn a brass into a gold? Louise just shook her head. Well, it was me. Louise looked shocked. I suppress your humongous power and return it with my special power. Your power and high reserves or mana resulted in your explosion, Naruto explained. Louise looked even more in shock. That's mean it's just you and not purely me? Yes, my special power helps you turn the brass into gold. Louise however become helpless and starts to cry. Her dream is just a dream. She will never be able to do anything, she is just Louise the Zero. Naruto moved close to her and hugged her and give a soothed words. Don't worry, with all the training you can do that again. This seems to encourage Louise as she looked at him in the eyes. Are you telling the truth? He nodded. Yes, I will teach you and I will make sure you will become a great mage. Baka! You scared me. I thought I couldn't do that again, Baka. Baka! Louise begins to cry, although now it is happiness. Naruto just smiled and hugged her tighter. Louise seems to asleep after a few minutes, feeling his warmth. He set her down to bed and he started to read the book. It is the book about void. This new world he landed or specifically summoned to is magnificent. In this world, mages is the people who born from nobility who can use magic. Magic as in turns taught by Brimir, the founder of magic. Magic divided by 5 elements. It is water, wind, fire, earth, and last is the holy void magic. It is said that void magic is the elements of the founder Brimir himself. It considered a lost elements among the 5, as there is no one has inherited the void magic, or be said as the successor of founder Brimir. However, even if the lost elements can't inherit it, but it can be learnt, or taught by someone who is the same state as the Brimir himself, many mage are abandoning of researching the true knowledge of void magic, considering the lost art elements itself is lost. Brimir once have familiars. Yes, he had 4 familiars and the only one who managed to befriend them. Brimir Familiars is unique. Unlike other mage, who summon creatures or animals such as dragons, salamander, frog, mole, and many more, Brimir actually summoned human-like familiars. These 4 familiars are strong and granted by the founder Brimir himself powers. Gandalf or left hand of the god granted by Brimir magic of knowledge to understand any weapons even how to use it. Windalf or right hand of the god granted by Brimir power to understand and tame any animals or creatures. Juvitnir or mind of the god granted by Brimir the knowledge to understand any magic and ancient articles or knowledge. Last is Liftersir heart of the god granted by Brimir the power to increase magic power of the Brimir himself. However, it is the most riskiest power to use as it will shorten the life of the familiar himself/herself. One of Brimir's and first familiar Gandalf is the closest one towards Brimir himself. Her name is Sasha. She is natively an elf and she is a peerless beauty. She considered a prodigy of weapons and magics in her land, the land of elves. Brimir summoned her as his familiar and Sasha accepted with her heart content. Even all of elves approve of Brimir's action because long ago humans and elves are not enemies. After Sasha become Brimir's familiar, she and Brimir gradually and slowly fallen in love. One night Brimir confessed his feelings for and asked her to marry him. Sasha, who can't express her words due to overflowing emotions, just nodded her head, and so both of them married and they both lived happily. However, that happiness cut short. Brimir, once a great mage and a kind person, turned into an arrogant person after he managed to summon his 4th familiar. He gave his familiar's power through his void magic. Slowly Brimir began to read in ancient articles of the land of elves as it rumored as a sacred land. He then created the group of mages and named them nobles. These nobles are strong and well versed in the other 4 magic elements. Soon they will be the first square mage. After gathering all mage, they created system between nobles and commoners at humans community. This created an uproar from both mages and commoners at Brimir's idea. Mages said it is controversial towards the system of live together as one status they created long before nobles and commoners system even existed, and rich commoners also stated the same way at opposing Brimir's idea. This idea, however, accepted after Brimir stated, nobles will fight to protect the commoners from harm, while commoners are to help nobles in every way possible. The words affecting both of nobles and commoners alike can start to accept the idea. Not long after that, Hawkagenia as one country of human was born, led by Brimir himself. After Brimir gaining enough resources and military power, nobles and commoners alike, he is planning to wage his war against elves for the sacred land. Brimir became arrogant and thought of himself as a god. Sasha, however, did not accept it and stated her statements. Brimir, who once a kind person, is changed at Sasha's eyes once Sasha failed to persuade Brimir to consider wage war against elves, her people, and her land. Now Sasha only saw him as a petty, greedy, and arrogant man. She realizes this is no longer her beloved husband. Sasha, who loved Brimir, cannot bear to abandon him. However, she knew the elves would be in threat once Brimir wages war. So Sasha did one thing will make her heart crushed, is to kill him. She knew she can't change Brimir's actions. One night, while both of him and her sleeping and the day before the war, she mutters her last sorry and stabs Brimir in the heart. She runs away with all of her belongings and returns to the land of elves. Days later, uproar happened after Brimir was dead. 3 of his other familiars unbind and set be free. Humans and elves are faulting each other for what happened. However, humans are debating against each other because of the greediness and Brimir's power knowledge. Then divide Hawkagenia into 5 parts: Albion, Tristane, Germania, Gallia, and Ramalia. All of these countries are unable to fulfill Brimir's wish to conquer the sacred land. Such is the tragic story of Brimir's. Naruto closed the book and sighed. After he translates all the contents of the book, Naruto now know where the attitudes of noble are came from. To translate the book into his language, he must use the power of Rinnegan. He actually surprises at the book contents. After the story at the first part of the book, the next part of the book contains many unknown magic towards all mages in this era. Naruto now knew why elves and humans hated each other for a long time. Naruto also heard what elves magic like. It is almost the same as senjutsu, however, with the help of spirit or such alike. They also use wandless magic or firstborn magic, which, unlike humans, they don't need a focus or catalyst to use their magic. Elves could use 4 elements of magic, however, with some of them named it differently, such as pyromancy for fire magic. Elves also granted an ability to wield other elements such as lightning and woods if enough training. Void magic, however, another else it is similar to elves' magic, however at the same time it's different. Void magic are like controlling the arts of physical prowess and magic prowess. Physical power comes from the body itself. Once your body is stronger the spells. Magic power comes from one person itself or spiritual power. If the void mages comes with strong willpower, controlling the magic itself will prove easily. Void magic reminded him of chakra, where it divided into yin and yang, or physical and spiritual. People who train hard, their chakra and chakra reserves within them will become controllable, stronger, dense, and increased. Void magic seemed the same, it is the power to control. Void mage such as Louise might be unable to use the other four elements fluently, however if Louise could find her true power within the void and control it, she will be able to control the other elements easily. Then she would become the first pentagram mage ever exist. His muse cut short after the light from the windows blinded him for a while. Seems he read the book a little too long than he expected, and today will become a long day. Even so, he really going to a very interesting world, a little bit stupid and screwed up world, but it appears this world has its own perks. Maybe protecting her in the first place, giving him a hint, there will be something big is happening in this world. Only time will tell. Alvis Hall. After waking Louise up as usual, and with her cute awakening gestures they headed towards Alvis Hall. Both of them still getting the looks from yesterday, and as usual no one really bothered with it except the fluttering fangirls waiting to chase Naruto. Louise and Naruto sat side by side, and Naruto still wearing his fancy Hiyori and Jounin vest, eating elegantly. While some noble from higher ups might offend by the thoughts of an elf sitting same as nobles. Here noble students from almost all classes have heart fluttering at their eyes, while the other have blush on their face or glaring at Louise for able to summon such hotadonis. The male students are glaring at Naruto, and as to why Zero managed to summon handsome elf. Darling! Kirchi, being energetic as usual, hugged Naruto from behind while rubbing her enormous mounds at Naruto's back. Naruto's cheeks turned into small hue of pink at the sensation behind his back. If he didn't travel with Jiraiya for 3 years he would likely stutter and nosebleed. Hi Kirchi, it's fancy meeting you here. Naruto calmly replied. Kirchi hugged him tighter after he greets her while her cheeks become small hue of pink. Of course darling, I would do anything if it was for you. She circles her fingers at his lean and muscled chest. Louise's eyes twitched at the interaction. She resists to shout at the Germanian and being a Zero. Kirchi, what are you doing with my familiar? Ah Louise, my little Louise, how are you today? It's been a shocking after what you did at the class the other day. Tell me, is it really your power or just a trick, because some students are saying you are a square mage behind an untalented act. She nuzzles her cheek at Louise's cheek while Louise blushed at what her rival just said and what she just did. She nuzzled her cheek in front of many people including Naruto. It is true, however, when Louise managed to transmute pebble into gold. Some teachers and students start talk about where if Louise is Zero, or is she a square mage, or is she just playing tricks. Rumors have flown throughout the academy while Louise herself did not even know. Kirchi, get off me this instant. Hiya, Louise cutely moaned while her A-cup is massaged by Kirchi. Some of the boys passed out via nosebleed at the scene in front of them. While Tabitha just don't care. Naruto just sweat drop. Moments later Alvis Hall become quiet as only the sounds of the second class were heard. The third and the first grade went towards each class respectively. Naruto confused and decided to ask. Louise, why are you not going inside the class? Oh, today is actually a day off for the second class to get closer at their familiars. Louise answered. I see. Naruto nodded. Well, if that is the case, let's go outside and have a chat. We haven't really gotten to know much each other. Louise quickly grabs Naruto's hand and dragged him outside. Library. Professor Colbert, teacher who taught the students fire mage and exhilarating power of technology. He believed that magic is not everything because one day technology will overcome any mages in the world. Right now, the professor whose name Jean Colbert researching at the ruins of the legendary familiar of Bremere, he's surprised by his students, or more specifically Louise Valier, the third daughter of Karen the Heavy Wind. She managed to not only to summon elf, but in fact the elf himself might be one of the legendary familiars or Gandalf. He currently researching and opened the books of the ancient void, and it surprises him even more when the runes of Louise elf familiar bear the same runes. I really need to tell headmaster. He took the book and walked to the headmaster office. outside Alvis Hall. After being dragged, Naruto and Louise sat each other at the round table just for two of them, while the other students are either chatting to each other or playing with their familiar. Naruto learned that Louise comes from Valier family. She is the third daughter of Duke Valier and Karen the Heavy Wind. He knew Karen is the famous wind mage across Hokugenia. Naruto told his story of where he is just an orphan and fight to survive in the roads. Louise hung her head and said sorry, however Naruto just shrugged it off and said it was fine. Then he became mercenary to fulfill his life. That one got gasp from Louise, as she never expect her familiar is a mercenary. However, that is not my real story, Louise. I will tell you after we have time alone, then I will tell you. For now this story is sufficient. It wasn't that he didn't trust Louise or anything. It's just that his habit was to keep secrets a secret until that person is truly worthy of the information. Naruto asked her if she is okay to summon him here, and Louise just nodded. She might not happy at the mercenary idea, however she could see he is a good person besides being an elf and a former mercenary. She was actually happy to summon someone who would consider her as true friend rather than just see her as a zero and a plaything. Suddenly their chat interrupted by the first grade noble from the looks of her cape, and she is looking for someone. Naruto recognized her as the girl with her blonde womanizer. Hold on moment, Louise. Naruto stood up and walked towards the brown-haired girl while Louise gritted her teeth as Naruto talked with another woman. It just feels bad. Excuse me, young lady. Naruto greeted the brown-haired first grade. The first grade gradually blushed while her mouth is gaping like a fish. She tried to say something until she felt he was familiar to her, and she remembered the Adonis from 2 nights ago. She regained her composure even though she's still blushing. Yes? Are you looking for someone? Naruto asked while the brown-haired first grade nodded. Yes, I'm looking for Lord Goichi. Can you tell me where he is? He is over there. He pointed at Goichi, who talked with the blonde girl and seemed to enjoy himself. Oh, thank you, Sir Naruto. She walks as fast as he could to avoid looking at his face while looking down as if the ground suddenly grows interesting to her. Louise walked at him with her red face. What are you doing? Are you trying to hit the first grade? Naruto shook his head. No, she just asking for directions of Goichi. I think he is your friend right there. He pointed at Goichi arguing with 2 women who seemed to claim who is his girlfriend. In the end, Goichi's face got slapped by the girls at each cheek. He cast a glance at Naruto with a hateful glare. Oh, I see. Well, that stupid Goichi deserved that. He is a womanizer, and then she tried to have 2 girlfriends at once. He's supposed to be Montmorency's fiancé. Well, serve him right. Louise just nonchalantly walked back at her seat. Naruto too shrugged it off, followed Louise back to his own seat. Goichi, having his reputation destroyed, tried to regain his sense and walk right at Naruto. He knew Naruto is the one who told Katie about him talking with Montmorency. Elf or not, he is going to make him pay. You! Have you known no shame breaking the hearts of 2 women? He accused him with his rose pointed at Naruto. Is it me, or are you trying to save your face from getting humiliated? This got everyone who near both of them laugh out loud while Goichi gritted his teeth in anger. You dare to raise your filthy elf attitude here at me, noble? If it is what you want, then I am challenging you to a duel. Goichi shouted while everyone who hears this becomes dumbfounded. Did Goichi say he want to challenge an elf? Is he nuts or something? He getting slapped by those 2 might make him insane. Goichi, you better back off, you have no chance, muttered some of the students, fueling Goichi's anger. Well, do you accept or not? If yes, then I will wait you at vestry court. He left in a hurry, fuming. Naruto just blinked. Well, that is escalating faster than I thought. Louise sighed. Goichi is stupid like that, never thinking or consider what he just said might cause him more trouble. So are you going to accept it or not? Of course I will. I need to teach him a lesson not to play with girls' feeling except if the girls agree with each other, Naruto stated sagely. Louise's eyes went wide. You mean? Louise sighed. You know what, never mind, just don't get overboard or it will be a mess. Then I will be the one to clean up the mess, and it will be getting too troublesome. Naruto's smile went wide and bowed in butler gestures. Of course, milady. Louise blushed and looked away. Baka. Headmaster office. Once Colbert reaches the office, he knocks the door. He got a reply from behind the door. Who is it? It's me, Jean Colbert. Ah, Jean, please come in, the headmaster said from behind the doors. He opened the doors and greeted by the sight of the headmaster old Osmond. He is an old mage with a huge catalyst and his familiar Matsagner white mouse sitting on old Osmond's shoulder. His face is mostly covered with long white goatee. Beside him is his secretary, a beautiful woman with a dark green hair strapped in a ponytail. She has a generous amount of mounds with her clothes tightly covering it. She is Ms. Longueville. "What is it that you need, Jean?" old Osmond asked. Colbert quickly went towards the old headmaster's side and whispered at his ears. Osmond nodded. "Miss Longueville, could you please leave us for a while?" Longueville quickly went outside the room, leaving Colbert and Osmond alone. "So what is it about the familiar of Brimir you talking about?" Osmond asked. Colbert shows the book. The familiar which Miss Valier summoned has the same rune as the one within Gandalf's familiar of Brimir long ago. He opened the book as he shows the rune of Gandalf. "I see, and what familiar are you talking about?" Colbert cleared his throat. "The problem is that Louise' familiar is the Gandalf, considering he is an elf also." "Ah yes, Miss Valier's familiar an elf. She is certainly unique if she is able to summon an elf and Gandalf at that." Osmond nodded sagely. "Indeed she is, however what should we do about this information? Should we tell the royalty about this?" Colbert asked. Osmond shook his head. "No, we must not. If it is true that Miss Valier indeed the Void Mages, she will be targeted by many parties, and if her familiar failed to protect her, then what should we tell to Karen the Heavy Wind?" Colbert nodded his head off, not really his favorite dealing with Karen the Heavy Wind. The door suddenly opened as Miss Longueville came inside. "Headmaster, there is a duel outside at Vestry Court." Both of them are left dumbfounded, however Osmond's face become interested. "Oh, interesting. Who will be at the duel?" Longueville nodded. "It is Greymont, fourth son Gache de Greymont." Osmond sighed. "That stubborn last child of Lord Greymont, so who is his opponent?" "It is Louise Valier familiar." Colbert suddenly becomes nervous. I think we should stop the duel. It is not a good idea for Gache to fight against an elf." Osmond suddenly smiled. "Nonsense, this will be a perfect chance to observe, if he is true at what you just said." Colbert sighed. "Very well." Longueville, left alone inside the room, felt nostalgia feeling after staring at the blonde elf. "He seems very familiar." Vestry Court. Crowds of students are gathering at Vestry Court waiting for the duel to begin. They heard Gache de Greymont is fighting against the elf of Valier. Even though no one really cared, they secretly having wished for their own. The girls are excitingly waited for Naruto to win, while the boys waiting for Gache to at least kick the elf's ass. All in all, everything is interesting. Gache standing with his arms crossed at his chest proudly as if to show he is better than the elf. Naruto meanwhile have a face of uninterested. He fights because his opponent's having too proud to admit he is at the wrong. He pointed his wand rose at Naruto and shouted, "I commend you for not running away from me? Are your master approve of this already? If she doesn't, then you better ask for her permission, or she might ask me for forgiveness," he stated arrogantly. Louise stepped forward. "Don't worry about it, Gache, I already accept it. Now if you please be quick and start it." Naruto smirked. "You heard what she said, let's get started." He readies himself with his kata. Gache scowled. "So be it then, I Gache de Greymont of Bronze shall fight you." He slashes his rose wand as its petal dropped on the ground as Golem came out of the ground. The golems itself covered in armor as it hold various weapons, Naruto surrounded by 4 golems as Naruto still hold himself calmly. "Too afraid to move, I see. Well, let me show you how my golems will defeat you." Valkyrie attack. All 4 golems moved to attack him simultaneously. Naruto, however, already saw the movements of the golems, as he decides just to play with it. He replaces himself with the nearest log. All of the golems crashed themselves, then without notice Naruto were behind the pile of golem. 8 trigrams, air palm. He used the jutsu of his late friend Niji, who died during the war, and he just going to use it in smaller scale, however all of the golems, but all destroyed into a rubble. "Is that all you got?" He smiled calmly. Guiche become afraid at this point and frantically waving his wand erratically while the golems increased into 8, however their armor and weapons are imperfect, making them vulnerable. After seeing the weak power of this Valkyries, he decided to destroy them by his own hands. He swiftly destroyed the golem one by one with incredible speed for everyone to see, including the teacher who observed him from above. He destroys the last two golems simultaneously. He then took one of his kunai out and swiftly moves behind Greiche, and with his kunai at his neck, "Do you yield?" "I yield," he said as Naruto released him. The crowds are cheering at the fight. Louise are happy that Naruto is alright. Kirchi is screaming about his darling make her hot. While Tabitha is actually watching the fight in full interest, Siesta meanwhile glad he is alright. Naruto just scratched the back of his head. Today is a good day. Duel have already been decided before the match began. Naruto wins the duel easily. The elf they thought could use firstborn magic only needs a fist just to destroy the golem imbued with magic. With only fist, they realize that the elf fist's already imbued with strange magic they don't recognize. After the duel was over, Osmond and Colbert exchanged a look. Osmond. HRM? Did you see those moves? Yes, I did. You saw those high-speed movement and power he uses against Greiche golems without magic. Nope, you are wrong, he uses magic. Didn't you notice his fists before he start to move at incredible speed? He smiled slyly. Colbert's eyes went wide. Don't tell me he. Osmond nodded. True, he uses magic to enhance his fists to destroy those golems. Yes, and it seems he is truly an elf, it seems. With his power he might be the strongest elf. Osmond nodded his head. Colbert grunted. We need to report this to the royal palace for instruction, he urged. There is no need for that, Colbert. What I saw from him is not the elves as we read from the fairy tale. He is totally different. Confused by Osmond's statement, Colbert decides to ask. What do you mean by he is a totally different elf? Isn't he the same as the elves who reside within the sacred land? Osmond just waved it off as he smiled. No way. If he is truly are from there, he probably already killed Louise in the summoning ritual and everybody here, or running away from her, or humans for that matter. Isn't that right? Colbert was a little bit doubtful but nonetheless accepts it. That does make sense. Osmond stroked his white long beard. Even as interesting as it is, it makes more questions. Colbert nodded. Agree. Tell me, Colbert, is Miss Valier a talented mage? I'm afraid not. Interesting. An untalented mage summoned a powerful elf from we don't know where. An interesting duo, don't you agree, Colbert? Yes, but still that doesn't explain as to why we shouldn't contact royalty for instructions. Gandalf has reborn. Osmond takes a deep breath. Colbert, there is no need for us to tell the palace about this. Those fools there would no doubt use this as a chance to rise in power. I'm very sorry for not overlooking such important matters. I will take responsibility for what is happening right now. You will not speak of this to anyone else, Mr. Colbert. Why, yes, I understand. Louise' room night. Naruto finally be able to calm Louise down after the duel. After the duel he saw her relieved face, but soon it changed as she somehow surprised. Late reaction. After the duel, Louise keep asking him question about what spell did he use. Is that an elf magic? Can you please told me? That kind of question with her puppy eye technique, he almost break it up after he saw her face but decide to tell her to wait until night. Louise accepts it with smiling triumphantly while crossing her arms. Naruto never understand how can Louise be that cute. Now here he was sitting in Louise's bed while Louise sits in Naruto's lap. The difference in size made both of them look like father and daughter. Asking as to why she sat in his lap, Louise just answered, "This is just your punishment for making trouble." Naruto just playfully smiled at her. What? Isn't dueling actually forbidden? Naruto just smiled that answered, I know you lie. Louise of course knows and blushed. Alright. Let's get back to what we supposed to talk about. Okay? Naruto just pet her head while Louise seems comforted by gesturing. You. So what is your question, Louise? Louise turned serious. Naruto, I know that elves are rarely neutral or likes human. You are an elf. Ever since I summoned you I was totally scared that you might kill me the first time I make you my familiar. But I didn't, right? Louise nodded. You also speak gibberish the first time I saw you. However, when you tried to reach me, Mr. Colbert halted you, and instead of killing him I saw you holding his head with your hand. Next you could speak our language fluently. Naruto nodded. Then, what are your abilities? Is that nature magic? Can you use other 4 magic elements? Whoa there, Louise, hold on, let me explain one by one. Louise puffed her cheeks. It's because you avoided answering my question when we first met. You just said that is your abilities and that's it. Right, my first encounter with you. I have been using mind reading technique at your teacher because of it now I could speak fluently. Next is my abilities regarding nature magic. It was not nature magic, rather my people named it jutsu. Louise opened her mouth to ask again, but Naruto stopped her. Before you ask what a jutsu is, you are asking me if I could use all 4 elements. Yes, I can also wield another element called sub-elements. Wow, so I summoned a masterful elf as my familiar. If you said you could do all elements, please teach me? Her eyes were sparkling with excitement. I'm afraid I can't, Louise. Louise's head hung down in disappointment. But I could help you mastering your magic power. Louise tiled her head confused. Really? How? I mean, I don't have any affinity to 4 elements. Naruto smirked. That is where you are wrong, Louise. You know there are 1 more elements you forget. Louise looked straight at the smirking Naruto as she reminded of what 1 other element. Louise gasped, and with wide eye gaping like a fish. Naruto nodded. That's right, you have an affinity of void magic. Louise, you, my master, are the wielder of the lost magic elements, the void. What do you mean? Void magic has never been found over thousands of years. And you are saying I'm the wielder of the lost element? Louise, you can't do any kind of elements. Have you ever noticed your explosion, Louise? Your explosion could destroy the entire academy, however you never saw anyone injured, am I right? Louise, dumbfounded, nodded. It's because you have no intent to hurt anyone. In fact, if you train to control your power, you could someday use your power to the fullest. Louise's eyes turned, determined to prove that she was not zero. Then you could teach me? Yes, void magic is almost the same as chakra, which bestowed upon my people. However, if you were to train under me, you will know it will not that easy. Louise nodded. You keep mentioning about your abilities are bestowed upon your people. Does that mean you are other elf races? And what is chakra anyway? Naruto frowned at the question. He really didn't want to give Louise any information about his true whereabouts before he was summoned, and nobody would likely believe him anyway. Louise, the truth is I'm not from this world. Really? I don't know about it. I think it does make sense after you show me those kinds of abilities. It is true, actually. If you have no potential, you would not be able to summon me. Then, will you tell me your true story from your world? She smiles with half-lidded eyes. Naruto tried to play it a little bit confused. What do you mean? Did I already tell you my story? Her smile fades. Don't lie to me, Naruto. You are my familiar, right? So, you can tell me what is holding on your mind? You have this sad and emotionless face when we first met, and then when you told me your story, it's like you are trying to hide it from me. He smiled gently. You are really smart, aren't you, Louise? You could tell whether someone is lying or not, as I expected of Louise. He nuzzles her cheeks, making her blush. Anyway, please tell me your story before coming here. I already told you who I am, right? Now it's your turn. She looked at him with pleading eyes. Almost he can't resist. He sighed. Fine, I will tell you my story. Then he told her, he is truly an orphan with bad memories of childhood. He never get a decent place to sleep, no edible food but only ramen, which is his favorite. Then he finally get nutritions from his village leader who gave him home and money. Louise was touched by his story, however it doesn't stop there. Naruto's life turned into hell because he couldn't get enough nutritions, but then the only food he could have was from a ramen stand. From there he tries become Hokage by giving him all he got and training all day. It was rough, but it was worth it. After years shunned, he finally become a shinobi and have many friends. Louise couldn't believe that he got all those hate and still wanted to become a Hokage. However, Naruto explained that his village was his home and his friends were there. Even though he say that, he have no idea why he still keeps struggling for that village, for fame? For affection? Getting attention from his surroundings? He have no idea. He then tell her, he finally able to become Hokage and strive for a better world than this. Akatsuki wanted his power to conquer the world. They would do anything to reach their goals. Seeing the threat, Naruto and the other village shinobi leaders unite to defeat Akatsuki. Louise was at loss of words at what her familiar just told her. His life is such a roller coaster. What is a roller coaster anyway? She smiled at his effort of becoming a Hokage. However, what concerns her was why did he have that sad expression whenever he tried to tell her his stories. Then comes the part where he lost his most precious person. She was his lover, you see. Louise knew that something bad happened to his lover, however he seems unable to continue that part, but skipped to the next part where he finally able to defeat this Akatsuki and the man behind it. Naruto, you have on heck of a life, aren't you? Louise with sleepy eyes asked. So it seems. He nodded. He yawned. I guess all of these conversations make me sleepy. We should continue tomorrow, is that okay, Naruto? Of course, my little Louise. Naruto lay her down and cover her with blanket while he himself walks towards the window to look at the beautiful night. This world is pretty interesting, right, Shinju? Next day. The next day started up as usual. Louise came to class without Naruto. She would never force Naruto in any way, and she knew he wouldn't do anything stupid, well, maybe little. After yesterday's duel, Goichi seemed quiet, and no more bickering about hurting woman's feeling. He just seemed quiet. Well, yesterday ought to teach him a lesson. Meanwhile, with Naruto, he went to talk about what happened yesterday. The Tarb doesn't seem mind at all, and he knew she doesn't like violence. So after siesta serves most of the order from nobles, she went to talk with Naruto, an Enigma elf who somehow didn't hate humans. Siesta walked around the academy with Naruto beside her while stare mainly at the ground. So Mr. Naruto, I'm glad you alright after yesterday. I know you are strong and Lord Goichi is outmatched, that's why when you defeat Lord Goichi, I'm worried you will be dragged to the court somewhere in the capital. Naruto glanced at her. He never thought she would be that worried. Don't worry, Siesta, you don't need to worry, I'm not that easy to be taken out. Just give me a bright smile. He caressed her cheek while her face flushed of the warmness his hand radiates. Why yes. Time skip, 1 week later. The next week Naruto was already popular among many. From noble side, Headmaster and Colbert are fascinated by him. Kirchi each time moved closer for Naruto. Tabitha is interested with the Enigma blonde, and the whole female population would know elf named Naruto even though it was supposed to be secret outside of academy. From the commoner side, the whole commoner loves Naruto as their hero and for protecting Siesta. One night Naruto's tenant orders him to get inside the seal and Naruto of course obey her. Yes, Shinju is a she took the form of Kaguya, mother of all chakra. He defeats her barely. If Sasuke wasn't there to help him, he wouldn't know what would have had happened to him. Inside Naruto's mindscape. Inside of Naruto's mind is a lively garden full of trees and miles-long grass stretching. This is the new mindscape of Naruto after the war is over. He never understood how Shinju was able to change his mind so fast. While Naruto enjoyed the scenery, hands covering his eyes while soft mounds pressing against his back. Guess who? Shinji-chan, I know it's you. Let's just get on at what is happening. Naruto-kun, don't be so mean, I want to enjoy our moment. If it was his younger self, he would have nosebleed himself and blushing crimson red, but after those 3 years trip with Jiraiya, he always respect a woman unlike his perverted godfather who always ogling woman. Shinju opened his eyes and pulled his head and give him a big fierce. Shinji took the initiative and pushed her tongue inside her lover's mouth, however Naruto won't let her dominate him and turn the tide. Finished ing each other, Naruto stare at the beautiful woman in front of him, while Shinju stare at him hazily. Shinju has the body of goddess, she has a supple G-cup S and her slim figure would make Naruto take her right now. Her face was the same as Kaguya except with her long elf-like ear while her white dress hugging her body perfectly. Shinju, I know you called me here not only for a loving session. Of course, Naruto-kun, I have noticed we are not the only one here, you noticed, right? Naruto nodded. Yes, at first I noticed my left hand is felt burning like it wanted to take control of me. Naruto shows Gandalf a sign at Shinju. But I'm not someone who can be taken control like a doll, plus you are here. He at her forehead and she giggles. Such a flatterer anyway, you won't believe who am I talking about, maybe you already figure it out. Ah, she is here. A shadow figure appear at the trees, a figure of a woman with a pointy long ear. Her hair is long blonde hair while her light blue eyes are beautiful as sky. Her clothes contain short dress hugging her F-cup S. You. Headmaster office. At the headmaster's office, Miss Longueville the secretary was busily writing away at something. She stopped writing for a moment and glanced over at the sequoia desk at which Sir Osmond was busy taking a nap. The corner of Miss Longueville's lips rose in a faint smirk, an expression she had never shown anyone before. She stood up from her desk. In a low voice, she murmured the incantation for a spell of tranquility. Dampening her footsteps so as not to wake Osmond, she crept out of the office. Her destination was the treasury, located on the floor directly below the headmaster's office. Stepping off the stairs, she confronted enormous iron doors. They were kept shut with a thick bolt mechanism, which in turn was secured with an equally large padlock. This place was where artifacts dating from even before the Academy's establishment were contained. After cautiously surveying her surroundings, Miss Longueville withdrew her wand from a pocket. It was about the length of a pencil, but with a flick of the wrist, it extended to the length of an conductor's baton, which she whirled expertly. Miss Longueville cast another spell. Once the invocation was complete, she pointed the baton at the padlock. However, nothing happened. Well, it's not like I really expected a spell of unbinding to work anyway. Smiling deviously, she began reciting the words to one of her specialty spells. It was a transmutation spell. Chanting loud and clear, she waved her baton at the heavy lock. The magic cascaded over it, but even after a considerable wait, there was no visible change. Looks like it's been magically reinforced by a square-class mage, she muttered. A spell of reinforcement was one that prevented the oxidation and decomposition of matter. Any substance that had this spell cast on it was protected from any chemical reactions, and allowed it to be preserved forever in that state. Even transmutation magic would have no effect against something protected like this. Only if one's magical skill surpassed that of the mage who cast the spell could it be overcome. As it was, the mage who had enchanted this door was apparently an extremely powerful mage, considering that not even Miss Longueville, an expert in earth magic and transmutation in particular, was able to affect the door. Taking off her glasses, she stared at the door once more. At this point, she heard footsteps coming up the staircase. She shrunk down her baton and slipped it back into her pocket. The person who appeared was Colbert. "Greetings, Miss Longueville. What are you doing here?" "Mr. Colbert, I was going to catalogue the contents of the treasury, but—" "Oh, that's quite some work. It'd probably take you all day to go over each and every item. There's a lot of junk mixed together with them, and it's a rather cramped space they've been arranged in too." "Indeed. Why don't you just borrow the key from old Osmond?" The woman smiled. "Well, I didn't want to disturb his sleep. In any case, I'm in no immediate hurry to complete the catalogue." "I see. Sleep, you say? That old man, old Osmond, is quite a deep sleeper. It seems I shall have to visit him another time." Mr. Colbert began to walk off, but paused in his tracks, and turned around. Miss Longueville? Is something the matter?" Colbert looked slightly embarrassed as he opened his mouth to speak. "If it would be all right, how would you like to, say, join me for lunch?" She took a moment to consider, then smiled brightly as she accepted the offer. "Sure, it would be my pleasure." The two of them headed down the stairs. "Hey, Mr. Colbert." In slightly informal tones, Miss Longueville struck up conversation again. "Why, yes? What is it?" Emboldened by how easily his invitation had been taken up, Colbert responded quite eagerly to her. "Is anything important actually inside the treasury?" "There is." "Then, do you know of the Staff of Destruction?" "Ah, that is quite a curiously shaped item, indeed." Her eyes glinted. "What kind of shape?" "It's extremely difficult to describe, except as simply strange, yes. But never mind that, what would you like to eat? Today's menu is flounder baked in herbs, but I'm quite well acquainted with Marteau the head chef, and I can have him make any of the world's finest delica." "Ahem." Miss Longueville interrupted Colbert's babbling. "Why, yes? I must say, the treasury is quite amazingly built. No matter what kind of magic is tried, it would be impossible to open, I assume?" "That's quite right. It's impossible for just any one mage. After all, it was devised by a group of square-class mages to resist all spells. I'm very impressed that you're so knowledgeable about this, Mr. Colbert." She regarded him with a comfortable expression. "Eh? Well, haha, I just happened to come across a lot of documents pertaining to this floor. That's all. I like to consider it a part of my research, haha. Thanks to that, I'm still single at this age, yes. I'm sure the woman that you find will be very happy to be with you. After all, you can teach her so much about things that nobody else knows." Miss Longueville fixed him with a fascinated look. "Oh no! Please don't tease me like that." Colbert flustered nervously as he wiped sweat from his balding forehead. Then, regaining composure, he faced her seriously. Miss Longueville, have you heard of the ball of Frigg that is being held on the day of Yule? No, I haven't. Haha, I guess it's because you've only been in Tristane for 2 months. Well, it's nothing spectacular, just a party of sorts. However, it's said that a couple who dances at this ball will be destined to be together or something like that. It's just a petty legend, of course. Yes. So? Smiling, she pressed him to continue. So if it would be all right, I was wondering if you would dance with me. Yes. I would love to. While ball parties are fabulous, I'd like to know more about the treasury right now. I'm quite fascinated by magical items, you see. Wanting to further impress Miss Longueville, Colbert racked his brains. Treasury, she says. Remembering something she might find interesting, he put on an important air and started to talk. Ah yes, there's one thing I can tell you. Although it's not particularly important. By all means, do tell. Certainly, the treasury is invincible against magical attacks, but I believe it has one fatal weakness. Oh, that's intriguing. That weakness is physical force. Physical force? Yes. For example, well, not that this is ever likely, but a giant golem could. A giant golem? Colbert stated his opinion quite proudly to Miss Longueville. And once he was done talking, she couldn't help but smile in satisfaction. That was most intriguing indeed, Mr. Colbert. Naruto in the moment was captivated by the beauty of the blonde elf girl that almost matched the beauty of her tenant the Shinju. He almost blushed by her beauty if Shinju didn't seduce him every night. The question now was, how did she get here? Who is she? I mean, those huge mounds and nice curves really is a nice view to him. Wait. Bad Naruto, hormones. Anyway, he decides that he might as well calm himself and not giving himself to his lust. The beautiful elf bowed. Nice to meet you, Naruto Uzumaki, savior of your world, and Naiden Rakuta Sanin. My name is Sasha. I think you already know me since you read the book written by myself. He gives her his foxy smile. Nice to meet you too, my name is Naruto Uzumaki, Sasha left hand of the god Gandalf. What a surprise to see you here. If I may ask, how did you get here? And about your book, what is your purpose by carelessly let it stay in human hands? I will obey what you order at me, Naruto-sama. First, about how myself is inside you. As you know, I have become one with you when you first tamed Shinju. I was sent by Kami-sama to guide you in this world. She explained with her soothed voice. Kami-sama? For what purpose? Why did she send her? Or more importantly, if I was correct, she was supposed to be dead a long time ago in this world. He thought to himself until he finally asked, how are you still alive? Or are you only a soul inside my body? And please drop the formalities. Naruto-sama, I am only a soul inside your body. My body has already destroyed by times. If you would like that, then is Naruto-kun will be okay? She looked at him with a kind and gentle eyes. Sure, Sasha-chan. And can you explain to me the power of that book and what purpose? Also, why did you leave it at the human library? He asked in full curiosity. Naruto-kun, the power of that book is to guide the Void Familiars to know the history behind the Void Familiars and what their role. For why am I leaving it behind? It's because there is a potential that there will be a new Void Mages in humanity. Also, there are basic learning of Void Magic inside the book to guide the Void Magic to control his/her power, but not to the level of mastery. The book only available in a very secret places where secret files are collected. She explained. That is a really nice to know, Sasha-chan. More importantly, are you okay with being inside me for a while with Shinju? He asked unknowingly, Shinju going right behind him. Of course. She smiled. Mao Naruto-kun, you are really enjoying yourself with the new girl. At least give me some satisfaction tonight. She pushed her huge S and slid her left hand to marvel his chiseled chest while her right hand went to his crotch grabbing his huge shaft. She then licked his neck to arouse him even further. Shinju-chan, now is not the time. If I do go into beast mode, you know what happened, right? He struggled at not to let himself taken away. But right now is really hard. He just wanted to her stupid right here and now. Let that beast out, Naruto-kun. I will be forever yours. I want you to fill me up and paint me white. Shinju with her half-lidded eyes said in a sultry voice. However, he managed to get out of his mindscape, leaving Shinju and Sasha alone. Naruto-kun, you mean it? Jubi pouted. She looks at Sasha and has a mischievous grin on her face. Sasha-chan. When we meet Naruto-kun again, I want you to help me. Sasha tilted her head. Help you with what? Shinji gave her a gesture to come closer, and then she began whispering at Sasha. I want you to. After Shinji whispered at Sasha, Sasha became flustered and her face turned red until it reached her ears, and then Shinji just grinned. Louise's room, midnight. He wakes up at Louise's room only to be hugged by sleeping Louise. He smiled at her sleeping figure. She was so cute. He really can't resist. Wait, what the hell? Did he just dot? He looked at his crotch and found out that his manhood is awake. Must be Shinju-chan. He sighed. I need a cold shower. He got out of the bed while Louise whimpered at the loss of her warmth. Then Naruto put his pillow for her to hug at. She seemed satisfied at the moment, so he better hurry up, and then he went outside the room. Dorm hallways. He went through the hallway to get to the bathroom, staff bathroom, because that is the only way for him to get soaked and relax, and he need a hot bath. Unfortunately, there were none here. He continues walking until a familiar stay in front of him or blocking the way. It was Kerchi familiar, the flame salamander, and he never saw a salamander this big, let alone a flame one. The familiar seems to gesture him to follow. He was curious as to why the salamander wanted to be followed. Must be Kerchi. I wonder what Kerchi wants in this time. She obviously wanted to get laid with you. The female voices giggles inside his head. Yeah, laughed it off. I won't do it anyway. He seems to said straight, however his inner self seems almost unable to hold it. Why? Oh, or is it because you wanted to do it with that little girl Naruto-kun? Oh, you Eki, Shinju with her fangirls mode screaming in delight. What? No way. I mean with Louise? I don't think. He was speechless. He couldn't retort to any of Shinju's attack of tease. Kerchi's room. They reached Kerchi's front door room and the door was opened. He went inside and the door behind him closed. Welcome to my room. It's pretty dark in here. He heard Kerchi snap her fingers. Starting from the one nearest him, lamps lit up one by one towards Kerchi like lights floating above a street. Doused in the mild glow, Kerchi sat on her bed, with a look of worry on her face. She was wearing attractive underwear, or rather, just plain underwear. One thing was for sure, supported only by her Y bra, her full S were the size of cantaloupes. Don't just stand there. Come to me. Kerchi cooed with her most captivating voice. Naruto walked slowly to a smiling Kerchi. Sit down. Naruto sat by her side as he was told. His mind was filled with questions. Why did she call him here? He knew that she was not this seductive by nature, and Kerchi's nearly nude body. Bad Naruto. What is it? Naruto asked with a smile. Kerchi was captivated by him. She tried to regain her composure while slowly waving her fiery red hair. Under the faint lamplight, Kerchi's brown skin looked wildly erotic, as if trying to capture Naruto to do her bidding. Kerchi made a long sigh, and worriedly shook her head. You must think me a lowly, despicable woman. Kerchi? To be thought so is inevitable. Do you understand? My runic name is Ardent. I know that. That cleavage in her brow's gaps is so why. He mentally slapped himself. My lust is as flammable as hay, that's why I suddenly called you here. Don't you get it? Isn't this really bad of me? That is indeed very bad. Naruto seemed unsure and just played along. He never had a girl speak her heart out to him like this, except for Hinata and Shinju. But I'm sure you'll forgive me. Kerchi looked at Naruto with moist, watery eyes. Any man would show his most primitive instincts after looking at these eyes. Forgive what? Kerchi suddenly clasped Naruto's hand, enveloping them with her warm palms before slowly caressing through every finger, sending sparks through his spine. Loving you, my dear? To you, my love is that sudden? Yeah, that's sudden, all right. Naruto's mind was completely confused. She must be joking. However, she seems desperate despite that thought. Kerchi's face looked serious. Your grandeur in defeating Geiche is just so cool, like a hero of the legends. Me, when I saw you right that moment, I was in love. Can you believe it? I was attracted to you just like that. Passion. Oh, this is a passionate love. Passion, huh? My runic name, Ardent, is quite passionate too. I've been writing love songs since that day. Love songs? Just for you, Naruto. You appear in my dreams every night, so I told Flame to see how you're doing. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. You must think that too, am I right? But it's all because of you. Naruto just sat there, at a complete loss of words. Kirchi took his silence as acceptance, and slowly, with closed eyes, approached Naruto with her lips. Yes, finally. I can feel the pleasure. The voice in his mind excited to wait for this to happen. Her breath is getting heavier and Naruto could picture it that Shinju is looking the scene with eyes full of lust. However, Naruto pushed Kirchi's shoulders away. He felt like she was pushing herself too hard. No! The voice screams inside his head in disappointment. Kirchi looked at Naruto with surprise as if asking why. Naruto looked at her eyes. Well, from what you said. You fall in love too easily, Naruto stated, hitting Kirchi's weak point. Her face turned red in an instant. Yeah, I guess I have more passion than others. That can't be helped. Love is sudden, and it burns my body so quickly. No, you are wrong. Kirchi stared at him deeply into his blue eyes as if she was being stripped off, but also she saw pity in his eyes. The way you act all this time, not based on what your name is, Kirchi. Huh? You only wanted yourself to be recognized among your friends, right? You wanted to be recognized not just as Germanian or some whore, but you wanted to be recognized as yourself, as Kirchi. He was hugged suddenly by Kirchi with tears on her eyes. She was crying her hearts out to him. She knew that he was the same as her, and he understood the feelings she had all those years. It's okay, Kirchi, let it all out, I'm here. Naruto let her cry in his shirt for a good 5 minutes until she was tired and then let her sleep in her soft and comfy bed, while Naruto left the room quietly. Outside the room, someone he at least expected waiting. Louise. Before he could explain, Louise cut his words. Don't worry, I trusted you. After all, I am your master. I do almost go inside, but after I heard Kirchi cries, I backed off. Even if I do know Kirchi is crying while inviting men into her room is highly unlikely, she explained with a soft face. He smiled. You seem to really know her, as I thought both of you are good friends. And then no, that harlot will never be my friends. Then after she tries to seduce you, I will never be her friends. She stuttered, then crossed her arms at her chest while flustered. But she is just like me, that's all, she said with softer expressions. He pats her head softly. You are really cute, Louise, so tell me how you knew I was here. As I thought, you like that lowly girl more than I expected. Shut up, trying to cover his pink tint on her cheeks with his smile, and it seems Louise didn't notice. I know you here when I noticed you were gone when I tried to find you. Kirchi's familiar seems guarding her front door since familiars are forbidden to get inside the dorm at this time. I thought you might with her. She blushed at his pat, she doesn't know why, but his pat is so nice and good. I see, so let's go back to sleep, okay? But before that, tomorrow is the days of the void, so there will be no class, so tomorrow we are going to the city, she explained. And we are going to city for? I'm going to show you the town and help you find a weapon or something. I know a good place to find or make the weapons. She proudly pushed her chest. Naruto just sweat dropped. I doubt I need any weapons since my Kage Bunshin already makes some for urgent matters, but I also wanted to try to go to the city for a while, so why not? Alright then, let's go back to sleep if you don't want to overslept. She nodded excitedly and walked back to her room while Naruto follows her from behind. Kirchi's room, morning. Kirchi woke up before noon. Today is the day of the void. She walks to the windows and opens the curtain. She groggily stared outside and remembering what happened last night. Right, I was crying at him the entire night. She couldn't believe herself. He knew her, her mask, her feelings. He was such a gentleman, and she will never let Naruto leave from her life. She began putting on makeup while excitedly how she should approach Naruto, and takes him from that Louise's hand. Naruto is mine. Louise's front door room. When she was done, she left the room and knocked on Louise's door. She rested her chin on one hand, hiding her smile. Naruto will open the door, then I will greet her with my seductive smile, Kirchi thought. And then, right, I can try to eye him outside the room, and maybe he'll approach me himself. The thought of rejection never entered her mind. However, there was no answer after she had knocked. She tried to open the door, but it was locked. Without a second thought, she used an unlocking spell on Louise's door, and was rewarded with a click. In reality, unlocking spells were forbidden on campus, but Kirchi didn't care. Her undying love for Naruto was her rule and will forever be. But the room was empty. The two weren't there. Kirchi looked around the room. Still the same, a tasteless room. Louise's backpack wasn't there. Adding that fact with the holiday meant they had gone out somewhere. Kirchi looked out the window and saw two people on horseback, with Naruto holding the rope and Louise was hugging him from behind, ready to depart. What? Going out, huh? Kirchi mumbled in annoyance. After thinking for a while, she quickly left Louise's room. Tabitha was in her room, deep in her sea of books. Under her light blue hair and glasses were bright blue eyes that sparkled like the ocean. Tabitha looked 4 or 5 years younger than she actually was. She was even a bit shorter than the already short Louise, and her body was quite slim. However, she didn't care about these things. She was a girl that would rather not care about what people thought of her. Tabitha loved days of void. There when she could sink into her favorite worlds. In her eyes, everyone else was an intruder in her own little world, giving a melancholic feel to her. Before long, strong knocks rocked her door. Without standing up, Tabitha simply picked up and waved her staff, which seemed to exceed her height. She cast Spell of Tranquility, a wind-type spell. Tabitha was a mage of the wind affinity. Spell of Tranquility effectively blocked out those distracting door knocks. Satisfied, she returned to her reading, her expression remaining unchanged throughout the encounter. Then somebody forcefully broke the door open. Noticing the intruder, Tabitha moved her eyes from her book. It was Kirchi. She began babbling about something, but with the silencing magic, none of her words reached Tabitha. Kirchi took away Tabitha's book, and then grabbed the little reader's shoulders to make her look at her. Tabitha blankly looked at Kirchi, her face unreadable. However, one could see that she had an unwelcoming gaze. But Kirchi was Tabitha's friend. She would have blown anyone else away with a cyclone. Seeing no other way, Tabitha cancelled her magic. As if a lock was opened, Kirchi's voice instantly emerged. Tabitha! Get ready, we're going out. Tabitha only softly explained to her friend, Day of Void. That explanation was enough for Tabitha, who attempted to take her book back from Kirchi's grasp. Kirchi stood up and raised the book high in the air, their height difference barring Tabitha from the book. Yes, I know how Days of Void are important to you, I really do. But now's not the time for this talk. I'm in love. It's love. Do you get it now? She didn't, and shook her head. Kirchi was propelled by her emotions, but Tabitha was a calm and collected thinker. One can only wonder how such polarized people could be such good friends. Right, you won't move until I explain. Geez, I am in love. But that stud is going out with that damn annoying Louise today. I want to go after them, and find out where they're going. Do you get it now? Tabitha still didn't, because she still didn't know why that mattered to her. They just left. On horseback. I can't catch up without your familiar, you know? Please help me at least with that. Kirchi started crying. Tabitha finally nodded. So that's why you need my familiar to catch up. Oh, thank you so much, so let's hurry up. Tabitha nodded again. Kirchi was her friend, and she couldn't help it if her friends had their problems that they couldn't take care of themselves. It was a bit annoying, but she didn't have a choice. She opened her window and whistled. The sound of the whistle rang in the azure sky for a moment. She then jumped out of the window. Those who did not know her would have found it weird, if not alarming. Kirchi, however, followed close after Tabitha and jumped out the window without a thought. Just a note, Tabitha's room was on the 5th floor. She tended to forego the door altogether when she had to go outside since jumping out the window was far quicker for her. Strong and tough wings spread out to the wind. Then, a wind dragon flew into the air and received its 2 passengers. Your Sylphid is still so awesome no matter how many times I see it. Kirchi grabbed a protruding spine and sighed in admiration. That's right, Tabitha's familiar is an infant wind dragon. The dragon, which got the name of the fairies of the air from Tabitha, swiftly and perfectly caught the upward draft around the tower, and reached 200 miles in the air in the blink of an eye. Where? Tabitha succinctly asked Kirchi. Kirchi immediately cried, I don't know, I was panicking. Tabitha didn't mind and commanded her wind dragon, 2 people on horseback. Don't eat them. Her dragon made a short grunt, showing understanding. Its blue scales glittered, and its wings flapped strongly to the wind. It flew high in the air, scouring the ground for a horse, a simple task for a winged dragon. Satisfied that her familiar was doing its job, Tabitha snatched her book back from Kerchi's hands, leaned back against the dragon, and started reading again. If Kerchi are to look at Tabitha, she would have seen a faint smile on her face. She after all is interested at the summoned elf. Tri-Stain City, noon. Meanwhile Naruto and Louise arrived at the city and began to having fun. Well, in Louise's case, after putting their horse in the local stable, she and Naruto went to the nearby cake stand. Even if today's purpose was to get his weapons, Naruto said, "You could enjoy yourself, Louise. That encourages her to have fun." In the city he uses henge to cover himself from getting known by the people there. If they know that he is an elf, then the trip here would be all for naught. He and Louise would get arrested. He didn't really need the weapon, but who knows, he might find something that intrigued him. He notices and feels two people following them, then he realizes they are being tailed by Kerchi and Tabitha. He didn't know why Tabitha is coming along since she loves her book very much. After a while Louise held Naruto's hand and dragged him to one of the store which sells weapons. A sword-shaped sign dangled under it. It looked like this was the arms dealer's shop. Louise and Naruto walked up the stone steps, opened the door, and entered the shop. Despite the bright daylight outside, the shop was a bit dark inside. A gas lamp flickered. The walls and shelves were filled with unorganized weapons. A detailed suit of armor decorated the room. A man in his 50s smoking a pipe eyed Louise suspiciously. That is, until he saw the pentagram on her golden button. He removed his pipe and said, "My lady? My noble lady! All of my wares here are real and reasonably priced. There's nothing criminal here. I'll be your customer." "Oh, that's rather weird, a noble buying a sword. Quite strange." "Why is that?" "Well, priests wave sacred staffs, soldiers wave swords, and nobles wave wands. Isn't that the rule?" "Oh, I'm not the one using it. My familiar is." "A familiar that can use a sword, huh?" The shopkeeper spoke in a lively voice, and looked at Naruto. "I believe that would be this gentleman over there?" Louise nodded. "He will be choosing by his own, I'll pay the price." Naruto then started to sort out the swords and something much more like a knife but hold strong. He would never found it here anyway. The shopkeeper jubilantly walked into his warehouse, silently rambling, "Oh, this is too great, I can raise the prices so high with this." Shortly afterwards, he returned with a long sword of about a mail in length. It was a very exquisitely decorated sword. It looked like one could swing it with just one hand. There was even a hand guard on the short handle. The shopkeeper said as though he just thought of something, "Speaking of which, it seems that nobles like to let their servants bear swords lately. The last time any of them came to pick one from me, they picked this type. I see a shiny, glittering sword. Very well suited for a noble." Thought Louise. "Is that the trend?" Louise asked. The shopkeeper naturally nodded. "That's right. It seems that there's an increase of thievery on Tri-Stain's city streets lately." "Yes. Some mage thief that calls himself something like Fuker the Crumbling Dirt, and I heard he stole a lot of treasures from the nobles. Those nobles are getting really rattled, so they're arming their servants with swords." Naruto, who heard it, began interested with this Fuker the Crumbling Dirt. But he will found this information on his own. "Hey old man, do you have any special type of swords or something?" "I do, please wait a moment." A few seconds later he comes back with a golden and shiny sword. "What about this one?" It was a splendid broadsword of around a mail and a half in length. The handle was made for two-handed wielding and was lavishly decorated with jewels. A mirror-like blade reflected light with an irresistible glow. Anyone could look at it and say it was a very sharp and broad blade. "This is the best thing I have." Rather than say it's for nobles, it's more like something nobles wish they can wear on their waists. But that's something reserved for very strong men. If not, wearing it on the back isn't half bad. It was a magnificent sword no matter how she looked at it. However, "How much?" she asked. "Well, it's made by the famous Germanian alchemist Lord Shupai. It can cut through metal like butter because of the magic infused in it. See this inscription here?" The shopkeeper proudly pointed at the words on the handle. "You can't get this cheaper anywhere else." "Well, I'm a noble." Louise held her head up high. At that, the shopkeeper bluntly gave the price. "This will go for just 3,000 new gold coins." "What? You can buy a holiday home with a garden with that?" Louise said, shocked. Naruto put his hand on her shoulder. Then she looked at him, which he gave her a smile. It's fine, old man, I can't seem to see anything that interests me. What? B but. The shopkeeper tries to reason. At that moment, a deep, male voice came from a messy pile of swords. You really know what a sword is, huh? Louise and Naruto looked towards the sound. The shopkeeper held his hands to his head. That piece of shining metal ain't going to save you. It's just for a decoration. Durf. Stop saying bad things about my weapons, you'll ruin my business. Durf? Sword with the names and could talk by itself? Sentient sword, interesting, thought Naruto. Could it be that this is a sentient sword? Asked Louise. That's right, lady. It's a sentient, magical, intelligent sword. I wonder what kind of mage could make a sword speak, but it's got a rotten tongue, always arguing with my customers. Hey, Durf. Keep up the insolence, and I'll ask this noble here to melt you. Sounds good to me. I'd like to see you try it. I'm kinda tired of this world. I'd love to be melted down. Fine. Then I'll melt you down. The shopkeeper approached. But Naruto stopped him. That's just so wasteful, isn't a speaking sword rather important? Naruto stared at it. You're called Durf, right? Wrong. It's Durflinger-sama. Remember that. This man is really strong, I can feel it, and this man might be my new master. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, nice to meet you. He smiled at the sword. You really are one heck of a user, fine. Buy me then. Naruto looked at Louise and nodded. How much? I'll give it to you for 100. That's rather cheap. If getting that thing out of my shop then, yeah. She took out her wallet and poured its contents onto the counter. One by one, gold coins dropped onto the wooden surface. After careful counting, the shopkeeper finally nodded. Thank you for your business, the shopkeeper said as he sheathed the sword and gave it to Naruto. If it gets noisy, just shove it back in the scabbard, and it'll shut up. Thanks. Two figures watched Louise and Naruto leave the weapons shop, Kirchi and Tabitha. Kirchi watched the two from the shadows of the streets, fiercely biting her lip. Louise the Zero trying to warm your feelings with Naruto with a sword, huh? Striking out with gifts so quickly after finding out he's my prey? What the heck? Kirchi stamped the ground in anger. Tabitha, her job done, was reading as usual. Sylphid circled around the skies above them. They had followed the two here soon after they'd spotted them. Kirchi waited for them to walk far away, and immediately ran into the weapons shop. The shopkeeper stared at Kirchi as if he couldn't believe it. Whoa, another noble? What the hell is going on today? Hey there, boss. Kirchi played with her hair, a charming smile in her lips. The shopkeeper's face turned deep red under the sudden seduction. Do you happen to know what that noble bought not long ago? A.S. sword. She bought a sword. I see, so she did get him a sword. What kind of sword? A dirty and rusty one. Rusty? Why? Because she didn't bring enough money. Kirchi laughed, her hand to her chin. She went broke. Valier! Your duke's house will cry for this. Is my lady here to buy a sword too? The shopkeeper perked up, not willing to let go of the chance. This noble looks racked and rich compared to that tiny one, he thought. Show me your best. The man walked inside, brushing his hands in excitement. He returned, of course, with the broadsword he just showed to Naruto. A very well-made sword. You have a good eye, my lady. That noble not so long ago had a servant that really wanted this one, but it's too much for them. Of course he lied. He just wanted to get the money. Is that so? The noble's servant? So Naruto wants this. Of course, this sword is made by the famous Germanian alchemist Lord Shupei after all. It can cut through metal like butter because of the magic infused in it. See this inscription here? The shopkeeper repeated what he had said before. Kirchi nodded. How much? The shopkeeper asked for more, seeing how Kirchi looked a lot richer. For new gold coins, 4,500. That's a bit pricey. Kirchi frowned. Well, great swords need to be paid for their worth, you know. Kirchi thought for a while, slowly moving her body towards the shopkeeper. Boss, isn't this just a bit expensive? Upon being caressed at the throat, the salesman suddenly lost his breath. Temptations hit his mind. But great swords are. Kirchi sat on the counter, raising her left thigh. Isn't the price a bit too high? She slowly raised her left foot onto the counter. The salesman's eyes irresistibly stared at her thighs. That's right then, 4,000 new gold. Kerchi raised her thigh further so that he could almost see in between them. No, 3,000 would do. It's getting hot in here. Kerchi ignored him, only opening her shirt's buttons. I feel really hot in here. Help me take off my shirt, please. She threw her most attractive expression at him. I got it wrong, it's 2,500. Kerchi took off one button and looked up at the shopkeeper. 1,800. 1,800's fine. Another button, exposing her cleavage. She looked at him again. Hey, 1,600 will do. Kerchi stopped with her buttons and turned her attention to her skirt instead, raising it just so little. The man looked like he could not take any more. How does 1,000 sound? She suggested, slowly lifting her skirt more. He looked like he was about to hyperventilate. And then she stopped. His rapid breathing turned to a sorrowful moan. Oh. Kerchi straightened herself out and asked again, 1,000. Oh. 1,000 will be fine. Kerchi stepped down from the counter, quickly wrote a check, and slapped it on the counter. Bought. She then picked up the sword and left the shop, leaving the salesman to stare at her check. After a moment, he suddenly regained consciousness, holding his head. Damn it! I sold that baby for just 1,000? He took a bottle of liquor from his cabinet. Oh, I'm done for today. Thanks for watching this video. You really enjoy this video. Like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification. Don't forget to support and follow Sohara Mitsuki for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story, link in the description. See you in the next video. Goodbye.